because I think that'd help. As you can kind of tell, I've been here off and on since Annie first moved here in 1992. She and I met her through a friend of ours. I was living in Seattle, and we were dating long term. And my best friend and hers introduced us. So she wanted to move over here, so she moved over here and lived in Colby Lake. And then we got married in 93. And we loved it so much that I had sold one of my companies, and so we built a house over on Ocean. Mike Maltman, remember Mike? Mike's the one that actually developed it built the house. And that's the one that Norma Keever's kids bought down on Ocean. It's down...
I didn't know that Norma's children had bought it.
Yeah, it's Tracy was the daughter and her husband.
Oh.
And so they've had it since about 2002. But we also developed the bakery. Kathy Arndt had it as a convenience store for so many years. And Annie had maintained her books back in the early 90s. And so she wanted to get out of it, and I was tired of being in a plane for 250,000 miles. And Annie was visiting her mother in Long Island. And so I bought it and made it into a bakery without asking her.
Oh, you had the good bakery.
But unfortunately, that didn't go over real good with Annie because she thought that was kind of dumb, but we survived it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got involved in the board because Ralph Todd came over, and that's when they had the real bad rains where they flooded out down below. And so Ralph came into the store and says, next time we have an election for the board, would you throw your hat in? And I said, well, yeah, I'd be glad to help out. 3 days later, Ralph shows up and says, guess what? You're on the board.
That's what happened.
And guess what? We have a problem. We have, most of the ocean flooded out, and we got to do something about it. And we've determined that we want to buy these big pumps to pump the water out. And that means we're going to have to get an $800 assessment and double our dues for Surf Pines, which at the time were a whole $75 a quarter.
That's when they asked permission to go down our, we own the trail at the foot of High Surf.
Oh yeah, going out to the beach.
We own
the fire access area.
That's our right of way.
That's ours.
It was part
We
of the
pay
property.
taxes on it. It's 25 feet wide.
Well, I knew you had the right of way. I didn't realize that you pay taxes on it.
Oh yeah. Have it for years.
Now, how did you?
We bought that when we bought the 40 acres in 1965.
And the 40 acres encompass Shady Pines.
Yes.
And what's now called the Mannion property over there at the tip. The property that's over by High Surf and Mannion. Is that part of your property?
Not on the
You talking about the water district?
The water district we gave to the Surf Pine Association because they were going to build, for $1,000 we gave it to them. They were going to build a tennis court. And we were going to have rights, and our children were going to have rights to play tennis on it forever. Well, dumb Carol was how old? 30, 20-something, 30. Anyway, didn't get it in writing. And of course, they never built the tennis courts.
So they didn't have wells there. They just
yes.
Oh, they had the wells already
They
there.
wanted to put bigger wells because they needed more water because they were expanding. So we owned to the south end of that. Of the waterworks and down to the first person we sold to was Bays, I believe. But not the lot that's for sale now at the top of, what is it?
The one we were talking
Yeah,
about.
the one that Lane bought that he's planting all the grass.
Okay, who owns it now?
His name is Lane and Sherry. I forget his last name. I can look
Miller? No.
No, it's not part of the Miller family.
Because
No,
this family, we sold that lot.
Oh, they were the ones that he bought it from. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because they had it for several years and didn't do
They
anything with
had
it.
that for Well, way, way before Shady Pine was. It was one of the first lots we sold. They had it for years.
Yeah, because I remember that
yeah.
we looked at that. We almost bought that lot
So,
before we bought that from your daughter.
well, yeah, it would have gone. I mean, if it was done right, it had a view straight down the High Surf
hmm
Road.
And
I-
it still has a view, and they can still do it with the 26-foot building.
All
height
right,
for
I want to
pines.
know, why did they go like this and like this? Why did they make the lower lot?
What did he do all the fill down there? Yeah, he was having all this fill, and then the next thing he filled it all in. It's like,
His name. Well, first of all, you got to know Lane to know that Lane does things
Differently.
differently. That's a nice way of putting it.
Okay.
But basically, his thinking is this: the 26-foot rule says that you have to measure the four corners, and the average height can be no higher than 26 feet. But he wanted to have that slope go down, and then his septic's going to be at the bottom. So what he did is there was a big gap in there. It was like the Grand Canyon.
Mhm.
And so what he wanted to do is he wanted to slope that, and then he's going to build like a she shed for his wife over there towards Terry's property. But he wanted to have that area as open grass. And so what'll happen is he's going to dig down and make that a daylight basement. So the area where it slopes down will be where the garage is, so we can pull into the garage.
Oh,
But it
okay.
won't impact his 26-foot height because the house is being built so far
Up
on
on
the
the
west
grade.
side of the lot.
yeah.
And that's
That used to be 28. Did they lower
no,
it?
it's 20. It's now 26 feet, 18 feet west of Ocean, unless it's been deeded. Now there's about 5 or 6 properties that have deed restrictions down to 14 feet. So there's a couple of houses. If you go down Ocean, there's one house that they built where they had to dig down 10 feet to be able to build their house to meet the 14-foot height restriction. Because they wanted to have an upper level.
Two-story, yeah.
So they literally, because they had a 14-foot deed restriction, but in 1982, they passed the Coastal Beach Residential Zone. And that just encompasses Surf Pines. Does not include you guys, us. We're in the SPR zone. Single it's SPR1. And that's basically one house per 1 acre. And so that's the zone that you're in and Shady Pines is in. But everything on Mannion West and from Surf Pines Lane to Strawberry to, not quite to Strawberry Hill, that's covered under the CBR, which is a zone that was created specifically for Surf Pines.
And was that a height or a?
That had a height restriction and also a
Lot size.
lot size.
What was the lot size?
The lot size was 1 acre or bigger. Because prior to that, what had happened is that Lucas had original CCNRs that had 1 acre minimums.
Right.
And he did that, and then they got into cash flow problems in the 70s. Well, his CCNRs expired in the mid-60s. And he and Bill Mannion, and I haven't got all the gory details yet, but Bill Mannion and him decided that if they let the CCNRs expire, then they could do 1/3 and quarter acre lots like they do over on Seabreeze, which used to be called Lucas.
And they sold most of it to Boeing.
And yeah, but they built those all in the 70s.
I know that.
And then somebody here at Surf Pines got together, and I thought it was Joe, but unfortunately Joe won't let me interview him because he said he's too old. And I said, but I'm interviewing Mrs. Seppa, I'm interviewing Ralph. He says, yeah, those youngsters remember stuff. I just don't.
Joe is a little smarter than Carol. That's what it is.
Thought you get a kick out of that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, somebody went to the county and got the county to place this zone, and that limited it to the 1 acre lots.
Yeah.
But I found out when I was interviewing Richie, that the original lots that Lucas developed, were the 24 lots that were down there on Ocean, the south part of Ocean, where Norma Keever's house is and Bonnie Brushon.
You're right, but those weren't the first houses built.
Those were the first properties that he owned.
Oh, okay.
And so what he did is he built the house up on the hill.
Sure.
And then, Schroeder ended up getting Lucas drunk, and he bought the house on a Christmas party. And that's how they got that house.
Okay.
But then Barney also owned another house of part of the 24 lots.
Right.
And the thing that was interesting about that is those 24 lots were actually defined limits. It wasn't to the high water. And so what ended up happening is at the time they built those, the lots were like 165 feet deep or something like that. Well, subsequent from the 70s, they've added about 400 feet of beach going out. And so when Mrs. Lucas passed away, Jimmy, the son, and the daughter found out they owned property on the west side of Keevers and all those lots. And so they were going to develop or add that to the Pinehurst. And they weren't going to build. They can't build out there.
No.
But that allowed them to have another building lot at Pinehurst if they could do that. Well, then, of course, Norma and Bonnie and all those people got all upset, and they got hold of Milt Stewart and Davis Wright Tremaine, and they sued them. And they ended up having to buy their land back. They ended up having to buy that land from their property line to the high water mark.
That makes
So the
sense.
dune, the ocean used to be 400 feet closer to Ocean Drive.
I've got a picture showing the model home where the beach is less than 50 feet from the window.
Wow.
And that was
Well,
in
you can
1960.
see the dunes go up every year. I just didn't think they were.
It added
I didn't think the ocean was giving up
460
way to
feet.
the beach.
Well, there. Yes, I
I
can.
mean, they grow. I mean, we see how much they grow every year.
Yeah.
No, well, all the homes on Ocean, when the ones that were first built had direct views of the ocean.
Yeah. Now, did you know that Ocean was an illegal road? It was all wetland. And Barney Lucas just went ahead and filled it in.
But
And
they
so
didn't have wetlands when Barney did that.
there was actually, they called it Duck Lake. He has pictures showing Duck
Yeah,
Lake
but
there.
I mean, they didn't. I don't think the state of Oregon had wetlands.
They had a
Oh, no,
designated-
no, no. They,
No.
At that time, they didn't. No, you're
No.
absolutely
Yeah,
right.
No,
you couldn't
they
do it
didn't.
today, right?
No, but they didn't have such a thing then.
I thought you get a kick. I got a picture showing that house that shows the beach.
Yeah.
I think you get a kick looking at that. It is absolutely.
When we're down, Mom's got a good picture in the other room of the Gerhardt. I'm sure you've seen similar, but it all the way down to here where there's no trees. The Gerhardt golf course is there though.
I don't know who lives in it now. I'm trying to think. Do you remember the Cratley family?
That name doesn't ring a bell, but
Reuben, Dorothy Cratley.
Was that Mike Cratley's parents?
Yeah.
So this is a house on Ocean Drive?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And see, I think they might have bulldozed
In fact,
a
that's
little bit.
Barney and his wife,
Helen.
and then Jimmy is the guy outside the door there, and then the other one is some friend of theirs, and then the daughter is on the right hand side, and that was their model because Schroeder's dad had bought the house up on the hill.
Well, that's a wave waiting there.
They've been
Living
here to
up
a
there.
fourth.
In fact, this is a picture from Schroeder's driveway, and those are the 24 lots that they originally had
I
developed.
saw
there.
every one of those houses being built.
Wow.
Because your dad owned this land here.
He bought it.
Can you send those to me?
Yeah.
That
those
is
are
classic. Well, the fact that the ocean, the dunes, it just shows how much the dunes have
All right,
grown.
Cratley's lived on. I don't know if it would have been what it was. Anyway, a lovely home up there, and they woke up one morning after a real high tide and a bad storm, and they had a lake in front of their house between them and the ocean that had never been there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was that kind of thing, that would, and that isn't that many years ago.
Well, they had that happen in 1960 or 1999.
Well, when the
because-
flood came.
Yeah,
right.
that flood flooded out the ocean.
Right.
And this is something you'll find really interesting because that's one of the reasons I was on the board, but I couldn't remember why we didn't sue Pinehurst or Richie Schroeder. Because everyone thought that he had built that Pinehurst and that blocked the stream. And so that was the main reason. Well, Ralph did remember, his memory isn't as good as it used to be, but he did remember that one of the attorney or the three attorneys here in Surf Pines One was a guy named Dave Kriegler, and then there was Jack Faust, I think his name was, and one other. And they were going to sue Surf Pines. And they were all partners at Davis Wright Tremaine along with Milt Stewart. And so they were going to sue us. Well, Ralph Todd went to them and says, we're not the ones that did it. It was those guys at Pinehurst. So they went out and did the research, and they found out that high surf is 7 to 8 feet lower in elevation than Keever's house at the south end. So there was no way that they could have blocked it. So that's when they told us to get an engineer or a hydrologist, and that's when they tested it out and found out that it had literally, it rained so much, it rained 99 inches that year.
Oh, it was, Bill and Sarah Orr were running a house down there.
Oh, I remember he
that?
got.
Yeah, they couldn't get out.
Well, they couldn't get to their house, right?
Yeah, and well, Keever's had 3 feet of water in front of theirs. Cameron's had 3 feet in front of their house. They actually, I've got pictures, I'll send you too, showing the beanbags so they could walk over to their house.
I wonder, are there any pictures of ocean and high surf?
During the floods.
Uh-huh.
I've got a bunch that Richie gave me, and I've got a bunch that I took.
Oh, now see, I'd love it if you'd
Yeah,
send
Mom's
it.
got a picture like this, hanging, full size, hanging in there.
Yeah. That,
Oh, mine's older than that.
let's see here. These Richie took at the flood. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see the flood here, the water.
Okay.
And then,
Well, I'll tell you something else about that flood. Where they drained that water, I started to tell you they went down our
that's right, because we went down both High Surf and the Horizon, because we did it down
they went
Horizon
down high
also.
surf, and for years, do you remember, Brent, how that was real steep there, where they had bulldozed it out, and then the water, run
To the ocean.
right, and we went up, kind of to the side on the last, on the very last year.
Yeah, and eventually what they did, you can see the drain pipes where the water comes out now. They actually have manhole covers that are open. And so I haven't been on High Surf, but over in Horizon, if you walk about 30 feet from where the trail is, you can actually see where the pipe, where the
Came
pump
out.
goes, comes up, and then there's a metal cover with cuts in it, and the water spurts out of that.
I don't think they have that on our property. 'cause
I
they
don't
would-
know. I don't remember on High Surf. I haven't
they
seen
would
it
have
there.
had to
But
have permission.
yeah, but I know
Yeah.
that they were draining it out to the ocean, and so we actually drained all of that water. But anyway, I was the one that got roped into having to get the $800 assessment for the people that owned the houses, and then I think it was $400 assessment for each property. And that may be what you guys ran into, because they may have, and I wasn't involved in that, they may have tried to hit you up for that $400 for each lot.
No, that was,
That wasn't it?
no, it was for water when they were going to go to, when they were going to go to Warrenton.
Oh, okay. The Warrenton water battle.
I think so. Yeah.
Because it was whenever you subdivided that, which was like 2, 3, 4, something like that.
Well, they brought Warrenton water in 1998, because we moved into our house in '97. We were still on Surf Pines water because my hot tub, I didn't have to put any chemicals in, because Annie's real susceptible to chemicals. And then about a year later is when we signed into Warrenton water, and I wasn't part of that. And once they got onto Warrenton water, I had to put chemicals because the water was not nearly as good. But there were a lot of people who were fighting it. Dolly Nicholson, Burr Allegar, Joe Backeson, March Bloomfield. Because my house was right below March Bloomfield's house. And they were all fighting it. And I remember Burr ended up putting his own well in, and so did Dolly. Because they refused to.
Are these the houses that Lucas had that are further out, closer to the ocean, that picture's from? These two here, they're out closer to the ocean?
No, this was taken in '99, so these are off ocean. That's ocean right there.
Yeah, but these two homes are.
No, but see, I think there's a curtain. I think this might. Oh,
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, it's real easy to do that.
Oh, yeah, but I'm.
Oh no, it
I
happens to me all the time.
She doesn't deal in touch
I do
technology.
not do well because I'm not. My hands, I shake.
Yeah, there's Pinehurst right there. There's Schroeder's house. There's Norma Keever's house. There's here, I'll put it back here.
Move your chair, Brent, because you can
Okay,
sit in
so
that chair right
this
there.
shows Pinehurst, and then this picture shows it down a little bit further. So this is the flood, and you can see this is Pinehurst here. The brown is Pinehurst, Surf Pines is the green. And then this is the very edge. You see Keever's house, and you can see Schroeder's house. And then the next one shows it coming from the ocean, looking. You can see Pinehurst. And then let's see. Yeah, there's Schroeder's house.
And is this
Keever's
the start
house.
of First Short Surf Pines right
Yeah,
here?
right there.
Yeah.
And then, okay, here's the one you were looking at. So I think this is the bend over the, so high surf must be somewhere right in here, because I look at that
I
jog.
there's there.
This is, I think that's high surf.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and there's your jog. That's right. There's high surf,
Yeah.
and there's your jog. So
Right.
I
Raggaloni
didn't
would have been
realize
right
these
there.
guys are closer to the ocean though.
Now, here's something I found out. This right here is about the end of the 24 lots. And D.F. Williamson, do you remember that name?
I remember Williamson. I don't remember what the.
D.F. Williamson was the president of the bank in Seaside, and he was Barney's banker. And one of the things he did is D.F. Williams bought lot 23 and 24. And Barney said, you know, I've got all these lots, and they have a high, they've got a line that they can't build
Yes.
past. And D.F. Williams says, well, I want a better view of Tillamook Head. So Barney actually changed the property line so that D.F. Williams is about 20 feet further west than the next two lots. And then the next two lots go down another 20 feet. So there's this staggered line, and he just went and changed the property lines.
Well, things were done like that in those days. I think a lot of it that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
I think. Now this is interesting that you might not know. My father bought he bought this property here for in 1942.
So he got it about 4 years before Barney started buying those lots then.
Right. But he bought it from Barney. No. He
Didn't
bought.
he buy it from the farmer over here, Earl?
He bought. Excuse me. Yeah, from there. Yeah, he did. But then this about from the middle of that field. But you know where that one hump is out there that has you can't even see it anymore. That was topsoil. Barney was taking the topsoil off of it and probably taking over where. And he owned it. No, he owned it.
Yeah, I know, but it just sounds like something Barney would do.
Yeah, well, no, you gotta get topsoil somewhere, but he owned it. So anyway, Dad said, gee, Barney, can I buy it from you? Just, the piece. So then he bought that. And at the same time, he bought, and I would say that was about 2 to 4 years afterwards. I'm guessing. I'm just a little kid. But I'm guessing. And then, see that point out there? The farthest part out in the lake, the dock that's up and around. That he bought 7 acres at the same time from Barney. On that side, he bought this whole place to duck hunt.
Yeah, because they had a bunch of duck blinds.
Well, there
all
still
through
is
the
one,
lake.
right?
There's still one.
There's
right
still
there.
one right there. I hunted out of that one when I was a kid.
Where is it?
Well, it's on
When
the
you
right.
kayak
can't
up there,
see.
you look in there. It's sitting in. It's right on the water. There's some
the
old
right-hand side?
cedar
right
framing,
across.
and there's a bench in there, and it's all grown up.
It's right across from
Really?
Seller's
I'll have
house.
to check it out. Oh, across from the seller's house? Oh, okay.
And then he bought a strip of land the full length of the lake. Just a strip. And you know how it goes,
Right.
like this. But he bought a strip. And why we bought the 40 acres was because Ray Hansen got a bulldozer and bulldozed out all our property so we had lakefront.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. That's right.
Well, I knew the road. I didn't know that he had done it exactly that way.
Yeah, I know
That's-
the road because we've got the gravel still that
Sure
you put
did.
in.
And there was
And
a
he put the road
cul-de-sac
in.
up there.
Yeah, the cul-de-sac was right
Yeah, I said a bunch of bad words about that road because we had to put a fence through that rock.
Oh, I'm
Rock is that deep.
Oh,
Well, Ackley was going. That's the big surprise. They thought they were building on the dune, and that whole turnaround was in there. And
Oh yeah, my house was even
Yeah.
worse than yours. I mean,
yeah, no, I was talking about yours.
yeah, my house
No,
was a.
we just had
bear trap for
our
him to
road's still
excavate.
there. It's this little road that runs right in
Right,
front
yeah,
of it.
okay, yeah, let's see, it runs right
Yeah.
there. So, anyway, we went and talked to, this is, then my dad's gone and everything, and it's my brother and I went and talked to our attorney, and he said, no, that isn't legal. Or I guess I went and talked to him when Jimmy came up, and that isn't legal. So we told, and we were making payments to Ray C. Hansen, and we had no money. It was
You and your husband were paying him.
and my brother, well, I mean, we hadn't bought it yet,
Mhm.
you know, but we're in the process. We tell Ray Hansen that we're going to sue him if he doesn't, you know, put it back. And he said, why don't you just buy it from me? And so that's how it all started. And
But
and
that was
he's-
after your dad had passed.
Yes, he had died in 63, and this was 65. So my brother and I basically, you know, bought the property. And then we had to make payments for, I think it was 15 years.
Oh my.
And we had,
It was bigger than your house payment. I remember that as
Oh,
a kid. The
And-
house payment.
we had 5 children and a dairy and no money.
Land rich and money
know.
poor.
And a heck of a nice lake cabin, but we never got to go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's only these
Grandma was still alive then.
Yeah, never got to go anywhere. But we did too. We took you camping by boat and every other day.
Just down the way, Irby.
No, anyway, great experience. It really was.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's how. So we bought from Ray Hansen. Ray Hansen also owned the right of way to the beach, and we purchased that from
That's
him.
how you bought that from Ray
Ray.
because
At
Barney
the
couldn't
same-
buy
And
that.
it came with this,
And it came with this.
which was
It came with the 40 acres. So, anyway, and the other, this land here that goes clear over to the other side is on the tax roll underneath the water.
right. If you look
Yeah,
at the
our lots
map,
aren't, but they are over there.
yeah, mine it starts right on the corner of my lot and goes up.
Babe Price and Kemp Price's goes out, and the rest of them don't. So that's some mistake.
Yeah,
in
none
it.
of the houses here
No.
have access or own any of the lake part of it. It ends right at the
Yeah.
shore. Yeah,
As it should. But
not those ones.
not mine,
No,
Where?
your tax actually goes all the way to.
except for prices. And so that's a mistake in the courthouse, probably.
Well, Ken was pretty sharp too.
Oh, very sharp. Both of them, you know, they were realtors.
That doesn't mean you're sharp. That they might have been sharp, but just because you're a realtor doesn't.
Yeah, but I remember some of the things.
But
that
they know the things you can do around
Yeah,
the
they
the
knew
land
how
plan.
to. Of course, it was the
Works.
Wild West for many years. So
That's amazing.
We were living in a trailer. We built a barn first when we were going to remodel. And we were living in a trailer outside the barn. And I remember that's where we sold Prices, that property. We were in
okay.
a trailer.
Yeah, they built the barn before while they were remodeling the house because this thing guy couldn't live in it.
Of course, because you were
Yeah.
rebuilding it.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, do you remember the Malarkeys and Millers?
Sure.
You know, one thing I found that Richie was telling me is that when Barney sold them, they had two 15-acre lots that he sold them originally. I think they paid like $11,000, $12,000 for each lot. Then they paid Barney $12,000 for the rights to build Surf Pines Road. And they were the ones that built the road out to the highway. This would have been in the early 50s. But Barney actually had them pay him for the rights to build the road. That's the type of guy Barney was.
Well, he got a good deal on the land, so he got him back on the road.
He paid less than 30. I've got a copy of the map showing how much he paid for each of the different lots that he has. Richie gave it to me. And he paid less than $30,000 for all of that land.
Yeah,
is
but
now
that
Surf
was
Pines.
back in the 40s.
Right.
Yeah, almost the end of the
That was all
30s.
still
Yeah, that
a
was
decent
years
amount of
ago.
money. Right.
But he
Yeah.
knew how to. But he also he owned the Astoria, or excuse me, the Gearhart Golf Course, the Gearhart Hotel.
Barney didn't own the Garrett Hotel, did he?
Yeah, at least that's what Richie said. Is that he owned the? He didn't own the Ocean View, and there were two others, and those were owned by. Oh God, who was?
Didn't the Osborns own one of the Garrett
Well,
Hotel?
the Leathers Osborne family, yeah, on the Garrett Hotel and the Ocean House.
Who's
The Ocean House? Yeah, the Ocean House
Is
was owned
that
by
Elaine's family?
No,
Oh,
it was John's family. They lived on Irving Avenue.
So they owned the actual, because there were three big hotels in Gearhart, weren't there?
Yes, but I only remember two of them, really.
Yeah, one burnt down.
Oh, the
And-
Garrett, yeah, well,
Well, it was before the Gearhart Hotel burned down, but there was another one that burnt down.
you know, and our wedding reception was in the Garrett Hotel in 1956. And there was a fire in it that day. And that was kind of, interesting.
That didn't burn the whole place down. It just made
No.
things exciting.
didn't wreck your day.
No, our reception wasn't until 9. But, yeah,
So they got
had
things
a lot
cleaned
of
up in
fires.
time for the reception.
Yeah,
and-
they had a lot of, they didn't have, I don't think they had a volunteer fire department.
Well, the Gearhart House, where we were reading about that, or you were
The,
telling me?
the ocean,
Ocean House. That was
that's where Barbie's built their home.
Right.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
We were talking about that the other day.
So what's now considered the area where you were going to do the tennis courts. And
Well, we weren't.
They were going to do that for you.
I mean, well, for everybody.
Right. And that was about what? It's 2 acres. Almost 3 acres. Because I think
I think it's 3.5.
I know there's only enough for 2 buildable lots. I think, and part of it maybe
Because
because
of
of the
the
wetland.
wetlands.
Yeah.
Wetlands, because it goes down like a swale, like that.
Right. And yeah, they just paid what $3,000-4,000 to clean up the mess. Some landscapers dumped a bunch of stuff out there on the property, and they just had to get it towed
that's
away.
gone on for years.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, let's see. You did the Shady Pines development, and I know now Surf Pines Landing, that was developed by Schroeder but owned by was it the Miller family or the Waterhouse family, or trust? I think
I'm
that
not
was a
sure
Waterhouse
which
trust.
was that owned it first. I don't know. The Waterhouse has owned a lot of property out there.
Right.
Tremendous amount of property.
Yeah, and then they owned a lot of property on the east side of Ocean, because I think our house down on Ocean used to be part of the Water Trust.
Were you
lands.
on the west or the east side of
East side of Ocean. And I think that was Waterhouse, and then they subplatted
that's-
that.
At the north end? More Waterhouse. I felt owned, in my recollection.
Yeah, and I actually, in fact, I might even have a copy of the map.
Mom, your house is in his screensaver.
Who's the researcher? Oh, I did something.
No, it just
no,
dimmed
look
out.
at the picture. Is that your screensaver?
Just a second here.
It's-
It's just ran out of energy. It shuts down.
Okay, no, we were looking at that sign that was in front of the trees.
Yeah, which was that one of my pictures, maybe? No, my screensaver is
No, it
Maggie,
was
my
just a
dog.
picture. Oh, it was just a picture. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well,
Maggie.
we need that back, whatever that, what did it say, Brent?
Well, it didn't matter what it said. It was just a
Yeah.
notice. I was just noticing that the picture we on was a picture
It'll be-
from Tom's yard, and it looked this way. You could see the corner of your house.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can see any others here that you might.
Oh, I'd love if you'd send those to Brent. That would be fun to.
Yeah, no, I'll be glad to send those over to you.
When I was.
You know what I'll do? I'll have like Kathy's little chat book. We can
Yeah.
make a little book out of some of
Yeah.
those old things.
There we go.
No, that isn't. Yeah, no, that isn't it. Yeah,
It's not run. I don't have internet connection.
Oh, the elk.
I got a video of the elk going past your house out to the lake there.
Have you watched them?
Well,
Swam
Julie
in
and
them.
I woke up. We were staying here while the house was being built last spring. And we woke up one morning. It was still dark. We get up, and there's 20 of them bedded down in the yard. This hydrangea had been drug out into her lawn. The one on the potted one right here.
But it was bigger than that
And
at
it,
the
and it had
time.
all the bloom, and it was all trashed. And they, and we had a picture of a bull standing over a young cow who was in heat, ready to. He was waiting for her to get up, and she wouldn't get up. And the other one is there was a baby drinking off her mother. I got all that in one great picture from here, and they're on this lawn.
See, and that should be in that too.
Yeah.
I got some good pictures. I got one picture that I think's one of the classics. It's a bunch of bulls, and they're and I think I may have posted it on Facebook. But anyway, they came and they started out over there, and I was watching them, and they love your bushes here. But
And then
the old
in the
man
road.
had an 8x7 rack, and then
wow.
the smallest one was only about a 4x3. But they were all bulls.
At a certain time of year when
And
the
they're-
bulls are running
and
together.
they're all about
there's-
7 or
last
8
night
of
there
them.
was one here.
Wow.
And anyway, I'll send you that one. I got a video of
Yeah.
them. Mike Mannion gave me that. And this is
Oh, this is
1957, I think.
Yeah.
And that shows some of the people that lived here, like the Dawsons. It shows the Dawsons right here. And I interviewed Steve and I can't think of his
Are they
wife's
still
name.
here?
That was his parents.
Oh.
They now live up over by the bend up on Mannion. But what's interesting, you see Raglone, Wilcox. Tom Wilcox's house is here.
He was on the board, wasn't he?
And then Caldwell, Thomas. But see the 24 lots?
Yeah, that's Clips.
Yeah, in fact, Raglione ended up buying, Wilcox ended up buying the lot that Williamson had. But these were the two, and so you can kind of see how it's kind of staggered here. It's not a straight line, but it seems to be getting smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was something that Barney did. Just changed the thing. And so this was the shore when, in 1957, when this was created. The beach now is right about here. That's how much land has accumulated.
Well, and isn't that interesting because the ocean's supposed to be coming this way.
Well, that makes sense now because I could never quite understand how we could be getting so much higher and bigger mass. And I would have thought
Yeah, that
it would be the opposite, where the ocean would be, encroaching this way as opposed to.
Well, anything you read, they say that it is.
It's all
Do you know why
melting.
we're building here? South Jetty. When they, same thing happened down in Pacific City, but
Right.
when they built the North and South Jetties,
Right.
what happened is the sand flow started leaving the North Jetty. So all of that land over on the north side of the North Jetty has been losing land.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that soil has been going out. Then they take all of the dreggings that's coming out of the Columbia, and so the current is pulling in and accrediting to the south side. So we've grown, I think it's 468 feet since 1955, I think, or 56.
Okay, so that's what. Yeah, I knew it was something with the jetty. And of course, when we were kids, it was, it wasn't very tall. You could run up the dune, and now it's huge, especially down by the jetty. It's a, it's a wall.
Now, were you around here in the late 30s at all?
I was born in 37, and I was 5 years old when Dad bought the property. But I
Okay.
remember very well because we'd come down every weekend and cut Scotch broom. And
When did you get horses? You used to ride horses through all here all the time.
well, that's why I got on the horses. Were out at Granddad's at Jewel,
Okay.
and then brought him down here, and he always had cattle, and
Yeah, Paul C. wrote a book called Reflections of an Ornery Country Kid.
yes, isn't
And
that a wonderful?
He tells a story, and I think it's about where Sellers' house was, but there was this building, and he had this kind of built-in underground warehouse. the fireplaces. You smoke all the time.
Oh,
And
well,
he
I
was-
had them all the way to, I know exactly what you're
But he was
that-
only about 6 or 7 at the time, and he saw that, and everyone would line up over here, and they'd holler, and the guy would row his boat over and row
That
back.
was, I think that was down, wasn't that down more by where Lovell's house was?
I'm not sure exactly
There-
where.
because
He doesn't
in-
describe exactly
In the
where.
Narrows. This was a moonshine place. When my dad bought it right before,
Oh, this was too.
right, they burned 3 houses down right at the, well, down the hill, right,
Mhm.
right in there. And you can find the bricks, and I've gotten bottles and everything else of it.
Yeah, I remember his quote. He says, "I asked my mom about why there was smoke coming out of there." He says, "Well, he's smoking hams." He says, "Well, I thought that was kind of funny because I didn't see any pigs running around."
Yeah. Now, see, Johnson,
So was there houses here then? They're showing in here where there's houses. So this essentially is that piece of property that.
This is the property that you would.
Yeah, this piece here.
what?
This is your 40 acres.
Yeah, I think this is your
here.
40
No.
acres right there, isn't it?
No.
Oh, this is
See,
the end. This is us right here.
Yeah,
This
this
is-
is mine.
All right, no, now wait a minute.
Okay.
Unless this is a new map. They showed when Scott built, when they built their house, they showed that as lakefront. And that's no more lakefront.
Lakefront in front of his house.
You're right. And they showed that, and of course his taxes were a lot higher as being lakefront than not, you know.
Huh.
And anyway, this is all these maps. In fact, I went to a thing over here at the fire station a couple years ago. What was that? I'm trying to think what that was. Some new law they were going to put.
Is
in.
this high surf?
That
here?
would be high surf right there.
Okay. So Scott's right.
So there, that shows your. That's
Scott's-
your right of way right there. The one, the high surf right of way would be
Right.
right there
Yeah,
between
yeah.
140 and 23.
And
So they're showing
Scott's
the
right down here. They're showing that. I've got maps in there to show you that will show where it is.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch that Richie gave me. This is the one that Mike Mannion gave me.
Yeah, it's
And that was done
Probably-
in 57, I think. Was the
yeah.
date on that
Well, it's done way before. You know, way before.
'Cause you got
Wait.
Schroeder there, and but they don't. Yeah, there's Klepp.
Clap. Yeah, Clap is right next to Roger and Dory's house where Duggars, or not Duggars, but where, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to find out more. Did you hear Archie Ward just donated that house to the Maritime Museum about 2 weeks ago?
Archie Ward donated what house?
Okay, the Klepp house.
Archie
Archie Cook-
Ward
Archie Ward bought that house. The Klepp house.
he bought it from our friends then.
May have. All I know is it's the
Who's
house
your
that
friend?
Klepp used to live in.
Oh God, what's blank. Dad was on the Maritime Board with him up. Oh, they've been here and we've been there for dinner.
Were they right next to Rogers?
Yeah. No,
South of it?
Yeah, just a house south. That
So
has
what's
a
the Maritime Museum going to do?
Well, Klepp basically is one that started the Maritime Museum.
museum. Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
Rolf Club?
yeah,
Yeah.
Ralph Klepp.
Okay.
And so somehow Archie Ward ended up with his house. And so he donated that. He owns it now. Archie Ward owns the house that Klepp owned. And Archie Steve
I
Dawson
just
just told me
can't
about
believe that because it's a banker.
Well, maybe he bought it from them.
Yeah, I don't know, if he bought that, who Archie Ward bought the house from, but Archie Ward's been there for a while. And he just transferred the title.
See the picture upstairs, Mom? Will that help you?
What picture?
Of the bank board?
No, he was. I mean, I think he bought and sold banks.
Oh.
No. We're way.
He wasn't running, he just owned
Ah,
it.
he wasn't the guy sitting
Well,
there.
he's still all right. The people that what Shannon said gave the sign the Nehalem Yacht Club that we have hanging out there.
Yeah, I
Oh
brought it,
God,
I don't know.
I'm absolutely blank.
It'll come to you.
It will.
But
But anyway, and to my knowledge, they still own it. I sat with her at
I don't know if I have it in these.
At
I don't
Christmas.
have.
oh, I've got the certified.
I had the directory for 2001, and I think he had it then, but I didn't bring it with me.
He could, but now, excuse me, Greg, this is driving me nuts.
Oh, here you go. You'll love this one. That is a picture where this.
Oh, I've got that.
That's the high
on
surf one. That's the one on
Was that in
Agnes
Comstock? In
Gustafson's
that book?
No, that's
Yeah.
not high surf.
No, that's Surf Pines
That's
Road.
Surf Pines
Yeah,
Road.
and that's the Lucas
Russell
Girl.
Earl's.
Yeah, and that's on the front of. You've got this little
The book?
surf, the history of Surf Pines.
The one that Alice Gustafson wrote.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah,
that too.
this
Yeah,
is
well,
in
that's on the front of it.
Yeah, and that's actually Mike Mannion's wife right there.
Oh, it is.
She was a
So he married the Lucas girl?
no, she
no,
was
she's
no,
not
she,
the Lucas
no,
girl.
no,
Oh,
that
oh.
was Mike's wife. She was quite the looker before he got her. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Kay Mannion and Carla Henry Dunham. So Carla was his wife. That was Brenda Kay Mannion. So that would have been Bill Mannion's daughter. In 1958, this picture was taken.
1958. So mom was 20.
Yeah. So
21.
the gatehouse would have been right about here,
Yeah.
and that's Neocoxie Creek, which was more of a lake. No trees.
Well, there was more water here. These ponds here had water in them, a lot more water in them back in the day.
God, I wish I had brought I have a directory that shows Archie Cook in that location, but I don't.
Now she's gonna go through her address book before she's gonna give you any more time. She's bugging her.
That's just driving me nuts.
Well, that's part of the reason why I'm enjoying talking to.
All the folks.
All
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm learning just all
So
kinds of
what
stuff.
is that now?
Okay, this is the plot map dated in 1979. Dale Barrett did it. So this is 1979, showing all the lots, but it doesn't say who owns them.
So where's
Here's Mannion. So this is Ocean here.
Oh, so there's nothing on the lake side.
Yeah. So this is showing, and then Lucas should be somewhere. There's Lucas right there, which is now Seabreeze.
Got mad at Lucas and they changed it to Seabreeze.
I remember
Oh
something
God,
about
I
that.
laughed myself silly.
Like they're gonna really send him to the penalty box.
Well, it was his son, because he built his house too high and they made him take it down.
Oh, that's the one they sawed
That was,
off
that
over
was
there.
Jimmy Lucas.
Ah,
Do you know who was one of the big causes of that? Joe Backeson.
What,
Joe Backeson, Dolly Nichols, who lived across the
oh,
street from
Dolly
me.
and Joe didn't get along at all.
But they did on
They-
Lucas.